Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you are probably wondering where the heck am I? Now, if you're wondering where the heck am I, where the heck I am, you didn't see the first video of this week. So friends, first, let me tell you that this is my response video to my larger video of the week. And if you want to know why I'm here, and if you are planning on watching the rest of this video, I highly suggest that you go and take a look at that video before you come and watch this. Because if you do that, you will have the foundation which will help you understand better why I'm reading these cards in the way that I am reading these cards. Yeah? And I think that might be particularly true of this week's spread. So I will put a card up here for you to click on, hop on over, watch that video, find out why I'm here, and find out about the basis for this week's spread. And every week I ask the cards to give us a central message from the Lenormand spread of the week. Because I'm in the middle of my deep dive into the Lenormand system, right? And so this is my way to make sure that I've got a little bit of a backup to the spread that I've read, give a little bit of supporting information perhaps, a little bit of evidence for what we read earlier. And just in case you have seen that spread already, but it's been a while, maybe you watched it in bits and pieces, it's okay to watch those videos in bits and pieces. Let me remind you that the title of that video was Happy New Year. I couldn't really land, well, I'm sure I could have if I spent a little bit more time on it perhaps, but I was happy with just that being a Happy New Year spread. So that's why I titled it just Happy New Year. Yeah? And I think it is a Happy New Year. We'll see. I've got a whole spread lined up for us to make sure that it is a Happy New Year. But before we get to the spread, I'd like to do a couple of things. I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank you for hitting the thumbs up button, for subscribing to the channel, hitting the alarm bell so that you get notifications. All of those things that you do help other people find the channel, help increase our community. So thank you for being of benefit to everybody who finds us. Also, for commenting below. Those of you who do comment below, thank you very much. You are doing great service to all of us by responding to these videos. Thank you. Also, at the end of the video, there will be a QR code for my online tarot shop. If you want to get a private reading from me for yourself or for a loved one, for a friend, for an enemy, you could go to my shop. I've got a whole bunch of different spreads available right now, and you can order one from the less expensive to the more expensive, depending on how much you want to invest in your reading or your friend's reading. Take a look at those. Order one if you'd like. And that'll be at the end of this video again. Okay? So friends, what are we going to do? I'm going to show you the whole spread. We will talk about the spread and the cards briefly, and then we'll break the spread into its two major components, and we'll read the spreads together. Okay? Well, friends, here's the spread. Do you know these two decks? I've used these two decks on my channel before, but not together. The tarot deck that you saw, the three cards at the top are from a tarot deck, yeah, and they are in a positional spread. But first, what is the tarot? The tarot is called the Ritual Tarot, and it is a privately produced deck, but it is available at the time of this recording. The second edition is available, which is even better because the second edition has the titles of the cards on the back in very, very small print, interwoven with the design of the back of the cards. I'll show you. Now, for example, this is the back of a card. It's very difficult to see what the title of the card is unless you are looking for it directly, right? The title for this card is, just so you know, right here. Yeah, so if you're shuffling the cards, you can't really see the title, but the title on the back helps you just in case you get confused, because the cards that you on this deck have no titles, no information. They got a lot of information. They have no titles on them, so it can be a little confusing until you really get to know the deck. And so those titles on the back being small enough that you can't look for them when you're shuffling, but you can find them when you are looking at the card directly. They're very helpful. So there will be a link in the description box below for that deck. Also, there was an oracle deck below by Kelly Burton. This is the Mystic Augur and Sage Oracle, which I used recently with a different tarot deck. And I liked it so much. It's a collage deck, but Kelly Burton's collage is very different from Tiera May's. Is that her name? The author of the Ritual Tarot. Their collage styles are very different. Yeah, the Ritual Tarot is 100% analog, cut and paste collage, right? The collage done by Kelly Burton is more computerized. Well, it is computerized, but I think they're equally beautiful. I think they're equally valid ways of working with art, and I think they look good together. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. So the Mystics say make the Mystic Augurs and Sage Oracle. There will be a link in the description box below for Kelly Burton's shop too. It's also independently published. Okay, so friends, the three cards on the top are in a positional spread. I mentioned that already, which means the first card in the beginning is the significance. The second card is the challenge, which could be positive or negative. That challenge being something we are striving for, that we want to attain, the direction we want to move in, or the negative challenge in the sense of an obstacle, things that could get in the way. And then the third card is advice. And then the three cards below from the oracle card, from the oracle deck, I think I'm going to decide how we're going to read those after we read the tarot. Okay? So friends, let's do that. Let me show you the three cards from the tarot deck and we'll read them together right now. Here they are. Friends, you saw from left to right in the significance space we had the Hanged Man, my favorite card. Yeah, you know that I call myself the Hanged Man in the Moon. So it's not really my significator card from the deck. My birth card is the Hermit, but the Hanged Man is one of my favorite cards in the deck, and if you want to know why, let me know in the comments below. Maybe I'll make a video about that, but it is my favorite card, so this being in the significant space for us, I think is pretty cool. The challenge is the Knight of Cups, right? And then the next card for advice was the Eight of Pentacles. That might be difficult to see that from the deck, from the cards that you saw, because these cards are image rich and symbol dense, yeah? And it's a wonderful deck. But let's start off with the Hanged Man. What do we see? You see the Hanged Man there, right? Yeah, he's there. The body is gold. It looks like he's hanging from a chandelier. His head is huge down there at the bottom, right? Do you also see the image of Saint Sebastian, one of my favorite Catholic saints? That would be right here, right there where my finger is. That is Saint Sebastian. Now, Saint Sebastian is what? Saint Sebastian is one of the martyrs of the church. Also considered one of the what? I don't want to exactly say the gay saints, but because we don't really know that much about Saint Sebastian. But Saint Sebastian was adopted by the gay male community, especially in the Catholic Church, because of what? Because of his being pierced by arrows, right? Young, usually drawn as very sexy man, pierced by a lot of arrows, phallic symbols, being a very, very gay kind of icon, right? So there's that too, which I rather appreciate. I love Saint Sebastian. But what is the Hanged Man? The Hanged Man is the card of self-sacrifice, of suspension, of waiting, pausing, right? There's some possibility of uncertainty or indecision, maybe vacillation or hesitation. Remember, suspension, hesitation. Maybe surrender and allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. I think that's important from this week's spread. And accepting our fate. Now, when we say you must accept your fate, we usually are thinking of bad things, right? Yeah, something bad happens and you would say, well, you have to accept your fate. Good things are fated too, right? Okay, so see, we can accept the good things that happen for us as well with this card. Now, I don't know if you see this in this card, but there are 3 moons. Now, the 3 moons are, where are they? I've lost them. Okay, there are 3 moons up here at the top of the card. And there's a pendulum. Yeah? Where is the pendulum? There's a pendulum hanging from the 3 moons. And actually the Hanged Man can be considered a pendulum in and of himself in this card. Swinging back and forth. So when we get that feeling of suspension and taking a pause, pausing, taking a break, being, it's not immobile, but surrendering to what is. That doesn't necessarily mean being static, right? This card seems to indicate that there's a movement within that space, yeah? There's also a compass here, indicating that we can find our direction after some time with this card. So even though we're here in this space of surrender, of suspension, though there's motion within this, right? An oscillation, a movement within this space, being hung. There's also a compass in this card that can help show us our way forward, right? So pause, surrender, letting go. Suspension, letting go to what is. And getting that new perspective. We want all of those things. Self-sacrifice. Now remember, the Lenormand spread gave us that idea of friendship, friendliness, opening our homes to our family and our intentional families and our friends. That can be an element of self-sacrifice, right? Even if it's something we want to do. Self-sacrifice does not always point to the things that are painful and we don't want to do it and we go kicking and screaming. That's not what all self-sacrifice is pointing towards. So this self-sacrifice can be, I give of myself because I love you. You are my friend. You are my family, biological or intentional. And I open myself and I give of myself. That is sacrifice too. And perhaps that is the sacrifice that this card is pointing toward. And that's what this week's spread seemed to be pointing toward as well. This week's Lenormand spread. Did that make sense to you? So the next card is what? The next card is our challenge, the Knight of Cups. Beautiful Knight of Cups. Now, I'll tell you the truth. I could see it was a court card. I could see it was a court card in the cup suit. The first moment I saw it, right? We see the big old cup down there. We see the big old youthful head. And so my first thought was the Page of Cups when I saw this card. But we noticed the animal down there too, right? You see the horses statue, I should say. The two horses down here. That's because it's the Knight of Cups, right? So, what do we have? This is, according to the creator of this deck, the Lord of the Water, the Knight of Cups. It could be a charming and charismatic, idealistic person. Male person, perhaps. But remember, we're all knights, whether we're in male bodies, in female bodies, in intersex bodies, in trans bodies, and cis bodies. We're all pages, knights, queens, kings. Myself included, yourself included. Yes? So, the charming, charismatic, idealistic one. Perhaps intuitive and emotionally receptive. We want to be those qualities, I think. That is our challenge, right? To be charming and charismatic with those friends that we're opening ourselves up to, the friends and family. So we're charming, we're charismatic, we're perhaps idealistic in the positive sense of having an ideal that we're moving toward and that we believe in. We're receptive of other people. We allow ourselves to engage our intuition. We might, on the negative side of that, sometimes be a little bit sensitive in the negative sense. We might be temperamental. We might be moody. We want to be careful of those things. Those would be negative challenge space. But in the positive challenge space, all of those good things that we just talked about, creativity, imagination, enjoyment and appreciation of beauty, romance and charm. We had a little bit of an indication of romance in the Lenormand spread as well. Being affable and equanimity. Having equanimity. Equanimitous? Is that a word? Equanimitous? Let me know in the comments below. I have a feeling I'm just making shit up. So we want to have equanimity. We want to be peaceful. We want to be centered. We want to be charming and romantic at the same time. It's possible. That's why this is the challenge, right? This is what we want to move towards. So, how do we do that? What's the advice? The advice is this beautiful 8 of Pentacles. Do you see the 8 Pentacles? Do you see the beautiful Grecian figure there, the head? Beautiful card. And you see that the 8 Pentacles are on what looks like the it's not really a zodiacal chart, although there are zodiacal glyphs within this thing. I see one thing that looks like could be Pisces. But it looks like there are spheres, right? Like the 7 spheres. Here we have 8. So what is the 8 of Pentacles? What is our advice? We engage our skill, our talents. We are diligent. We are dedicated. We do our craft. We have aspirations for growth. We want to develop those aspirations. Remember the idealism, the positive idealism here, that's part of our advice as well. But do the repetitive tasks, do the work, master our craft, develop ourselves, right? We have natural gifts. We want to develop those. That is the advice for this year. Develop our natural gifts, master our natural gifts, discover our mastery. That seems like a very wonderful beginning for the year. This seems like a really good support of the spread, the Lenormand spread we did earlier this week. And it gives us a little bit more. It gives us, okay, so we do all of that stuff. We were asked to learn at the end of the spread, of the Lenormand spread. And so this spread takes it the next step forward, and we develop that. We master our innate gifts with dedication, with diligence, with skill as craftspeople. Yes? Now we've got 3 oracle cards that we will read together, and I think that we will read in such a way that each one of the cards is going to modify the tarot card above. That's what I see. And as long as I don't accidentally dig us into a weird pit, I think this is the best path forward for this spread. So what I will do, I will show you those oracle cards once more, and then we'll read those together. Are you all ready? Here they are. Isn't this a beautiful deck? I think it's just wonderful. Now, let me tell you how I use this deck, or at least how I have used this deck so far. It's an oracle deck, and there are 3 cards that are different from all of the other cards. Now, almost all of the cards in the deck are beautifully collaged, but there are 3 cards which are different. They are fairly monochromatic. There's a sigil as the main image of the center of the card in text. And those 3 cards are the Mystic, the Augur, and the Sage. And so when I use this deck, I use those 3 cards as placeholders for a spread. Yeah? So I lay out the Mystic, the Augur, and the Sage, and then I shuffle the deck and find out which card is the Mystic, which card is the Augur, and which card is the Sage. Does that make sense? So I would potentially be able to just read these 3 cards completely separate from the 3 above. I mean, it's one spread, so that separation is not entirely possible, I think. But I could read them as one unit, which just refers back to those 3 cards we just read. But there's an interesting thing about these 3 cards as they lay beneath the tarot cards that really do seem to link them to the cards above. Even though the 3 cards above are not Mystic, Augur, and Sage, they were, what did I say? That they were significance, challenge, and advice. Still, the significance and the Mystic seem to be linked. The challenge and the Augur seem to be linked, as well as the advice and the Sage, in very interesting ways. So, what you saw from left to right for the Mystic was a card called Liminal Space. The Augur was a card called Practice Patience. And then the third card, the Sage, was a card called Metatron. And let's start off with the combination of the Mystic and Liminal Space. Now, here's the Liminal Space card. You see what I was talking about, the sigil, monochromatic, with text below? Yeah? The Mystic, what is the Mystic? The Mystic uses uses spells, charms, and rituals to alter their experience and surroundings. So it's using things to modify our experience of the world. And remember, the card above that is the Hanged Man, right? Hanged Man and liminal space. What could be more appropriate than this pairing? What is liminal space? Now, liminal spaces are I would call them the gateways to the new, right? The spaces are new, strange, and unknown phases that we choose to enter. That's what Kelly Burton says. However, for me, a liminal space is not, it's that space between the old and the new, and we've chosen to enter this liminal space to reach the new. Just like we might choose to enter the liminal space of changing careers. Yeah, maybe you stop one career, you get a little bit of training, and you enter a new career. That training in between would be that liminal space between beginning something new. Now, not all liminal spaces are entirely deliberate. We could consider teenage years as being a liminal space between childhood and adulthood. You're not a child anymore, you're not an adult yet. You're in that in-between space, right? Where you're trying to figure out what this new experience is going to be. Now, there are many examples of liminal spaces in life, and this liminal space is a response to the spells, the charms. So this is the time, now that we are the hanged people, the hanged men and the hanged women and the hanged non-binary and the hanged intersex, now that we are this is the time to plan out where we're going. We want to challenge our old beliefs so that we're ready to develop our new ones, right? We want to, even though the view ahead is hazy, we want to peer into that fog and not be afraid of it, because that fog is the direction that we're heading in. So even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's unsure, we want to challenge ourselves to move forward into and through that fog. This is a shadowy territory, and it will ask us of courage and maturity. And that maturity was indicated in the Lenormand spread for this week. Remember that lily? So it will open up to us a new experience and new possibilities. So we want to move forward through this liminal space, through this shadowy territory. And you see in this card, it kind of looks like the kiss from Klimt, though like all the gold is gone. But that gesture of those two figures in that kiss embrace that is shadowy, it's a little difficult to discern. Reminds me of the kiss from Klimt. And in fact, I think it is the kiss from Klimt, or at least a Klimt image. So there's a little bit of romance here too, right? Romance, remember, romance is being indicated in several cards in the Lenormand spread and in this spread. But yeah, so as we are here as the hanged ones, we want to engage this time to plan out, to explore, and to decisively move forward into this fog. into this unknown territory, right? What strange new worlds with strange new creatures. Yeah, what a brave new world and what strange new creatures we shall encounter. And do so with confidence. So the next card, the augur. Let me show you the augur card. What is an augur? Well, the augur looks at signs and clues or natural or supernatural events to understand a situation or to make predictions. Right? It's like a muse. We'll look at signs and symbols and nature and experiences to discern what's going on, right? And the card we got there is what? Practice patience. And you see, and this was right below the Knight of Knight of Cups, right? And I don't know if you can see any echoes between these cards. I can almost imagine this figure, the Knight of Cups, taking getting off their horse from time to time and sitting there. Now notice the horse has transformed into a watery turtle. Is it turtles that are watery? I think so. A turtle. Cups, watery mammal, watery land animals. Yeah, you get that Knight of Cups feeling. And sitting there to look within. And we see this figure in what looks like a meditative pose, right? We see the turtle behind with the head up, looking forward, not hiding. This isn't a turtle hiding in its shell, but it's stretched forward, looking forward. So, whenever something negative arises, we still have control of our connection to spirit. If anything negative arises in this space, the challenge of being the Knight of Cups, we always have control of our connection with spirit. We may experience the inner critic now more actively. So what will help us? Breathing meditation will help us. Meditation definitely will help us. It will help us to send pain and discomfort out of our bodies. And we want to know that we can heal ourselves, as we can also heal the world. And as we heal ourselves, we heal the world. So it's not only a selfish act, it's a self-sacrifice to heal ourselves. Isn't that a weird thing? Isn't that an odd thing to say? But it's true. Healing ourselves is a self-sacrifice, because as we heal ourselves, we heal the world. We also want to come out of our shells rather than retreating and retiring. Right? Note the liminal spaces. We're here in this liminal space, and yet that it doesn't mean that we hide away. We open ourselves up to the mist, to the fog, to the uncertainty, because we have made the choice to move into the new year. And we breathe out of and through any negative emotion that might come from our self-critic as we move forward as the Knight of Cups. Yeah, with our romantic selves, sure, our charm, our creativity, our intuition, our ability to connect with other people, as we invite people into our spaces. And then the next card is what? The Sage. Here's the card for the Sage. And the Sage is what? The Sage consults books or stored information to interpret circumstances or situations and to educate themselves. So we get information. written information, information from our traditions. And that information is what? Metatron. Now Metatron, that is a spiritual entity, but Metatron also has a sacred geometric shape. And that is Metatron's cube. And his cube is right there. A multi-dimensional cube drawn in 2 dimensions is here. So he is the spiritual record keeper. Metatron is. He's the mediator between earthly and celestial realms. He's the mediator between heaven and earth, and also stores all of the information. And that is what lies beneath our 8 of Pentacles. This is the advice, this is the work we are asked to do. Be the mediator. Hold the knowledge. Learn from the knowledge. Remember, this is the sage. We learn. And for our own education and to interpret circumstances and situations. His cube, back to Metatron, his cube is a sacred symbol of the skill of recording a matrix. And it is the key to ascension. We had the key in the Lenormand spread, right? So the key to ascension is a spiritual one. So the suggestion is to keep journaling for ourselves too. We want to keep records for ourselves, and we want to express ourselves. We might even want to express those negative things to help get them out, maybe, as long as you don't repeat them over and over so that you bring them back in. If you can get the negative stuff out by journaling, that's wonderful as well. But we want to journal. We want to continue or create a journaling practice in the next year. Now we want to focus on a humble approach rather than finding blame in other people or in situations, right? This is wrong, that is wrong, you're wrong. We want to be humble and open ourselves. Remember, the Hanged One, opens themselves to what is. So that is emphasized here as well. The path is understated. The path is to understand, and in so doing, lead a meaningful life. That is the work we want to do. The work we want to do. Remember, we're mastering craft. We're mastering our own God-given talents, our own divine-given talents, our own self-created talents or self-decided talents. We want to master those things, and part of that will be through doing things like what? Journaling, like meditating, perhaps, which was indicated before, but also by recording our thoughts, recording our feelings, exploring them on paper, understanding, walking in the direction of understanding, moving in the direction of understanding, and in so doing, leading ourselves to a meaningful new stage of life through the liminal space that we are in the midst of, in the middle of. And that's how we are able to look forward through the mists of the liminal space that we started off on. And again, the suspension is the liminal space, right? We discern what's going on as the Knight of Cups by allowing negative energy negative thought, self-criticism to flow out through breathing meditation perhaps. And to open ourselves, to come out of our shells, to become this. That is the challenge. And then the advice is to do these two things, right? Which include things like journaling. which include things like focusing on being humble and accepting what is as we grow and develop ourselves to become who we want to become at the other end of this liminal space as the Hanged Man. Does that make sense? Can you see how this enrichens, I think that's a word, enrichens the Lenormand reading that we got earlier in the week? I think it really does. I think it echoes and enrichens that reading that we had earlier in the week, which was the new year. Do you agree? If you do, let me know in the comments below. If you do not, let me know in the comments below. Do you see something else? What do you see that I'm not seeing? Let me know. And friends, in just a moment, the QR code for my online tarot shop will appear before your eyes. You can scan that and hop on over to my shop, or my web address will be there as well. It's an easy web address, derekjohnthomas.com. What could be easier than that? So, go check out my shop. If you want to get a reading, order it there. Or you can send me an email. My email address is in the description box below. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. And a very happy new year. Thank you.